Hello, my name is Gale Aarkander, and I'm going to review...
𝗏𝗏. Hello, my name is Gale Aarkander, and I'm going to review a movie for you.
This new little indie film distributed by Netflix in December 2022. Wait. December? No, wait. No. Wait. Wait a minute. No. What is today?
Sᴄɪᴇᴛɪsᴛs.
Oh God. I could have seen this 4 months ago. What is Troll? A movie, of course, but what is it really? Why is it? I am here to answer those questions for you today. This is a movie directed by the indubitably unremarkable director who is responsible for The Wave and the latest and almost equally forgettable failed installment in the Tomb Raider franchise of PG-13 thirst traps. No, not that one. Yeah, that's the one. He is 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏. Also, I'm going to go ahead and admit that I will be spoiling the movie, but it's not really that deep. There are actually very few twists and turns, so it is essentially unspoilable. Okay, look, if you've not already seen the movie, you can basically just look up a synopsis of the film and then use your imagination to make pictures from that synopsis, and then you've more or less seen the film. There, I just saved you over an hour of headache. Alright, so who even acts in this movie? Let's see. So we have an Ina Maria Willman, whom I have not seen in anything, except for this. And then we have Kim Falk-Jorgensen, whom I think I have seen. And then we have 24 or so very norsk actors who all do a decent job, but ultimately look and act like disinterested Screen Actors Guild members, just showing face to further their careers. But they did do their best with the paltry dialogue and plot that they were given. I'll give them that. Yeah, ultimately this is an uninspired film and a bit of a disappointment. This movie brings dishonor to the docu-troll subgenre of films that I used to be excited to see rolled out. Sure, they managed to make a good-looking film with its alleged $3.5 million budget, which I believe was actually translated from Norsk krone. Yeah, it looks good, and then the single troll that we got is comparable to the many that we got in Hellboy. Remember that remake from, 2019? Yeah, I think that I will speak more on that later, as well as why Hellboy's trolls are much better. Yes, I am comparing it to the Hellboy 2019 remake, as well as Troll Hunter, because... N'est-ce pas déjà clair? Troll is lazy. I'll be honest, it's a bit of a cash grab of a blockbuster, but then it is careless, and then it's shameless about its carelessness, as well as its laziness. All of this is very evident from the get-go. The movie wastes absolutely no time shabbily developing its cardboard cutout characters. You just need to understand one thing with this movie. Remember just this one thing, and that is that the people in this movie are not people. No, these are plot devices. They have no conscience, only lines and single character traits like being interested in mythology, being interested in paleobiology, or being big, strong Norse military man with handsome face. So, in this movie, trolls used to live alongside people. They used to live and interact with people in Norway somewhat regularly, but were calcified at some point somehow because Norway became a Christian nation or something like that. There could just be zero science behind this, but a normal neurotypical movie would just, end up pointing to calcification. Yeah, they are sort of needlessly developed as well. So there is a scene in the beginning of the movie where a younger version of our protagonist, Nora Tidemann, is told to first believe and then see by her father, as opposed to see in order to believe, the troll's faces in the mountains, and then She actually does this in a record 20 or so seconds after claiming to no longer be a child who believes in myths. Ugh, whatever. She sees the trolls somehow. This scene is just pointless. For the rest of the movie, this skeptical little girl who literally just saw magical troll faces in the mountains no longer believes in even the possibility of the existence of trolls at any point in history. So I guess that memory faded away? So later on in the movie, Nora also denounces her father's claims. This is actually after witnessing footage of a troll breaking out of a mountain too. So this dumb movie scientist was written with the goal to deny what her father has been uttering for his entire miserable life, even after seeing the troll with her very own eyes from a helicopter, not just in a recording showed to her by government officials. So throughout this entire movie, everyone but Nora's father is so obtuse, or rather the writers of this film are so obtuse, that they go on to write everyone to deny the existence of trolls, or, you know, whatever they want to call this big ogre thing made from stone, even after seeing footage of it and seeing it live. This thing is incontestably real, seeing that the military and government are involving themselves, so why the heck are they refusing to even call this monster a troll? A troll! You know, the creature to which it is remarkably similar. Let's also discuss the plot conveniences that run errant throughout the script. The biggest ones, of course, being Nora and her father, in my opinion. So shortly after that exposition-heavy first scene with 13-year-old Nora and her father, there is one in which her team of scientists who are digging for fossils but failing actually receive a call from a university, and they say this, saying that they are about to be defunded before Nora immediately picks a new spot to dig and then finds a fossil. Okay, problem solved. You're not defunded now. But then my question is, why does her discovery of whichever fossil salt that she found need to coincide with the discovery of the mountain troll that is thoughtlessly unearthed in the very next scene? So, okay, what then is the point of bringing a matter of contention, expounding upon this botheration that is the defunding of our protagonist's project, only to solve that problem then and there and then move on to the real issue or problem of the movie, also known as the troll? The thing is that randomly finding a fossil does not demonstrate her talent or abilities so much as her luck. I don't know, did she identify that they needed to dig in that specific area herself? They don't tell you. That, to me, being written in with absolutely no purpose, is a testament of the writer's laziness and incompetence at writing a coherent script. Come to think of it, why does Nora even have to be a paleoscientist at all? Like, what makes the government randomly decide upon her when they have literally hundreds of other paleoscientists in Norway alone to choose from? Yeah, I can even confirm that here. Norge's a proper first world country with the 6th highest scientist and researcher per capita in the world, behind some other nearby European countries as well as South Korea, because of course. So again, why Nora? The character just doesn't make a good protagonist, in my opinion, or focus, or character, all of the above. Well, I suppose that the movie just needs to happen, right? And it needs to happen with her specifically because she needs to sit on an advisory board, or un conseil de connards, if you will, who need to decide what to do with their singular troll problem as it approaches Oslo. Even worse than the aforementioned plot conveniences is the fact that her father is obsessed with trolls for no other reason other than to expose them to her from a young age, or expose the idea of them as well as their mountain faces from a young age. Why does she have to have a mental father who's into these fairy tales? If you want him to be obsessed with them, fine. But then you cannot have the protagonist whose father is, let's say, troll-oriented, conveniently get chosen by her to assist her in government officials who have no idea who her father is, mind you. They fly a helicopter to his place to pick him up for some reason. Her dad doesn't even have a blog or a research paper with regards to trolls. He is actually a nobody. His only connection to the storyline is his daughter, who is not only miraculously chosen to help identify what are pretty obviously the footprints of giant human-like creatures, but, creature, because we only get one troll, but she also invites him to help scout this big beast in which none of them believe. This includes Nora, by the way, the person who actually invited him. She does not believe her father, yet she has the military fly her to him just so that she can doubt him and then have him be a part of the movie. So, of course, you wonder, why did she go to her father for help when she doesn't even believe that he can be of any help from the moment at which he starts talking about trolls? You know, the creature which this big monster resembles the most. Ugh, this movie sucks. But the thing is, it didn't have to. Let's talk about the rating. Surprise, surprise, this movie is PG-13 and was probably shot with the intention of ending up as a PG-13 movie, so it's not allowed to be fun or realistic. It's basically a family film. If you know me, which you probably don't because my only friends live in my head, and this is my first video. But if you did know me, then you would know that I have a long and complicated history with PG-13 movies. Yeah, I hate PG-13 movies with a passion. I think that this should have been an R-rated movie. At least then the deaths, we could have had some fun with it. The violence and gore, because this movie is so dry otherwise. The troll in this movie only swallows Christians whole, which I totally do not condone. Or it stomps on them, or it accidentally tears through houses, intentionally killing no one, completely innocent, ever. Unless they first shoot at it or provoke it in some way, because death has to be justified for the most part in these movies. Think about that though. Like, this movie is boring. This is where the Hellboy movie beats it, because the trolls in that film were impeccable. And they weren't even the focus too. In Hellboy, the trolls were dumb, grotesque, and about as large as the ones in this movie. However, their size and power actually had some consequences for Christians and just about anyone else who stepped in their way or in their line of sight. The same can be said for Troll Hunter, but let's keep focusing on Hellboy instead. When Hellboy's trolls pillage a rural home or town, they mindlessly and terrifyingly consume or step on its residents, leaving blood and gore splayed across lawns and wreckage everywhere. When Hellboy kills one, mounting its head on a spike just before him, he remarks on the smell of its breath, with groans, because its death exhalation are probably fumes from all that it had eaten, which were likely humans and cattle, considering the setting. The point is that it is disgustingly well done, and you can imagine how disgusting it smells. Those trolls were vicious and fast, ugly and unsentimental. Pretty much the opposite of the one that we got in this movie. Imagine if when Nora's dad died... Oh, right. Spoiler? Imagine that he died in a more realistic and gory fashion right before her eyes. Seeing a loved one get ripped to shreds, thrown around like a rag doll or crushed, would certainly make you hate that animal or machine or entity responsible for your family member's killing, even if it is just a dumb animal. There could have been an interesting dilemma for this character and actor that coincides with this movie's themes of human and animal rights, but its writing and rating really hold it back. Remember the unearthing of the sleeping mountain troll? Well, me neither, so let me just play clips from the film to help you remember. The most prominent theme in this movie is that theme of animal rights, like what is the best way to go about killing this animal? We are killing it after all, because communicating with it, learning to communicate, or cohabitating with it is just too laborious. Ugh. Yeah, they waste no time poking and prodding it, deciding that it is too dangerous and needs to be killed, not studied. They even go so far as to force it into a self-defensive rage with little to no malignance from it to begin with, and then they wonder why it lashes out in the way that it did. As is evident from the very start, this movie touches upon or attempts to set up many themes and ideas that don't really go anywhere. It obviously wants to arouse sympathy and compassion in us for the troll. It's like the people behind this movie were unsure themselves of how to portray the troll. Like, maybe they wanted its goodness to be ambiguous, so, the viewer decides whether it's right or wrong, good or bad. But they didn't even try to play around with this theme of animal rights and coexistence, cohabitation with other animals and intelligent beings. This movie's incongruousness is overwhelming, and yet they almost get away with it because its stupidity hides behind beautiful visuals and landscapes that are only aided by its impressive special effects for its budget, of course. And then there are interesting locations, apt and mostly consistent color grading, and set designs that range from decent to substandard or of sitcom quality. In other words, all of the other departments who had no say in the direction or script or story of this movie showed up to work and did their jobs. This movie has some highly competent cinematographers, editors, and other crew members, but as always, it has to fall apart at the feet of the script. The father-daughter relationship in this movie is so shallow that when one is killed, there is this ineffectual sense of loss afterwards, and nothing else. That's it. Nora and her father's relationship does not feel real, plain and simple. So the two actors or two characters, they have little nicknames for each other. They will reference Nora's mother's death because apparently it means something to them. And they'll pretend that they know each other, but there are so many instances throughout the film where they either say something or make decisions that you just wouldn't make if you knew the person. In essence, their actions and choices give it away. This is, in my opinion, part of a greater problem within Hollywood and movies with big production budgets. So, acting is an art. Editing is an art. Set design is an art. The makeup and costume department are chock-filled with artists, yet writing, the very fabric and fiber of every good story, is handed to literally anyone and then reviewed or quality controlled by pretty much no one. Good, competent, plausible, yet subtle, to a degree, writing is necessary if the goal is to execute an objectively good film. However, it is not necessary to make a successful one. That is then why Troll exists. Look at Avatar 2, for example. Many aspects of that film are exceptional, but then you have the writing, being the plot, character and world development, and dialogue. I get the sense that big names like James Cameron, as well as these conglomerates like Netflix in the business of the production of blockbusters, think that screenplays are things that anyone can write. I suppose that the one goal for these narrow-minded people with very specific business interests, that being to make a profitable movie, also results in bad writing. Just because they all know that most people who see like 3 movies a year won't notice the things that someone like me, who has seen thousands of movies in my lifetime, would at this point. And that's problematic to me. It seems to belittle the importance of hiring a good writer and then also employing some quality control mechanisms in there as well. Unfortunately, until people start recognizing bad writing for what it is, we are going to keep seeing this time and time again with our big blockbusters. Nothing is going to change because we live in a society. This has been my review of Troll 2022, a direct-to-Netflix movie directed by 𝗏𝗏, who co-wrote it, actually, with an Espen Aukan. So, I officially give this movie a 2.5 out of 10, just for being incoherent, lazy, boring, and also having nothing to say, even though it set itself up for a statement of some sort. Yeah, the rating would be a 3 or even potentially a 4, if I'm being honest, if it wasn't PG-13 and if the superior norsk film Troll Hunter from 2010, as well as the more entertaining Hellboy from 2019, which just so happened to have trolls in it, did not exist as points of comparison. So that kind of lowers the rating for me. So if you would like to see me talk about more movies, as I plan to do, then you could subscribe, theoretically. I would just like to ask one thing of you, my one viewer, and that is to please resist the urge to give this video a dislike. Anyways, à bientôt. J'espère que je vais vous voir la... Plus fort!